Jafora Fox, let's talk business. Let's turn it up a notch. It's your time to shine with Jafora Fox. It's all coming together. Just keep your eyes on God and tune in and let's talk with Jafora Fox. Hey, Jafora Fox. Jafora Fox.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jafora Fox Show. I am Dr. Jafora Fox, and I am so glad that you are here. And thank you for joining me. Tonight's discussion, it's titled The Behaviors People Normalize That Quietly Disrupt Their Functioning. This is a conversation about the behaviors, emotional habits, and patterns people gradually adapt to over time without always recognizing how deeply those behaviors may affect their emotional well-being, communication, leadership, boundaries, relationships, stress levels, and overall functioning. And so I am excited that you are joining me tonight. So say hello in the comments and let me know that you are here. Hello to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining, and say hello in the comments. Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Good evening. Thank you. One of the most important things to understand about human behavior is that people can normalize dysfunction when they are repeatedly exposed to it over time. Behaviors that once felt uncomfortable can eventually become emotionally tolerated, psychologically expected, or even unconsciously accepted as normal. This happens personally, relationally, emotionally, professionally, and behaviorally. Sometimes people normalize chronic stress. They become so accustomed to functioning under pressure, emotional exhaustion, overwhelm, and constant mental strain that they stop recognizing the toll it is taking on them psychologically and emotionally. They continue operating, producing, performing, and carrying responsibilities while quietly becoming emotionally depleted underneath the surface. I tell you, I have been there, and so I understand what that looks like and feels like. Sometimes people normalize poor boundaries. They become accustomed to overextending themselves consistently, prioritizing others while neglecting themselves, emotionally carrying situations that are not theirs to carry, or continuously saying yes, even when the mental and emotional capacity is overwhelmed. Can you relate to any of that? Over time, they may begin viewing exhaustion as responsibility rather than recognizing it as an imbalance. Some people normalize unhealthy communication patterns. They become accustomed to inconsistency, emotional shutdown, lack of accountability, dismissive communication, avoidance, passive aggression, or emotionally unhealthy interactions. Eventually, the behavior becomes expected because individuals psychologically adapts to the environment. The issue is not always whether the behavior is healthy. Sometimes the issue is that the behavior has become normalized through repetition. And so I want you to kind of pause a moment on what I just shared. And in the comments, if you can relate, just put I understand. Avoidance is another behavior many people normalize without realizing how much it quietly disrupts functioning. Avoidance can appear in many forms. Sometimes it looks like procrastination. Sometimes it looks like emotionally disconnecting from difficult conversations. Sometimes it looks like continuously delaying decisions that need to be made. And those delayed decisions will cost you. Sometimes it looks like staying busy to avoid self reflection. We're so busy doing other things that we're not taking the time to self reflect, to look at oneself. We're looking at others. Sometimes it looks like distracting yourself instead of confronting unresolved issues. The challenge with avoidance is that temporary emotional relief can create long-term emotional disruption. Avoidance often temporarily delays discomfort while increasing internal emotional tension over time. Many people become emotionally exhausted, not simply because of what they are facing, but because of the amount of mental and emotional energy required to address what needs attention continuously. Have you ever been in a conversation and someone is continuously sharing the same things that they're going through without dealing with the situations? The situation. They're just constantly repeating that same situation that they have going on, and they have not yet made the decision to make the necessary changes about that situation. Another thing people often normalize is emotional inconsistency within themselves. Some individuals become accustomed to functioning in cycles. They may start things but struggle to sustain consistency. Some people, they start, they stop. They start again, they stop that. They move to something else. They never take the time to consistently complete tasks and things. They're from one thing to the next without continuing to complete those tasks that they have before them. They may continuously revisit the same goals, conversations, realizations, orientations without implementing long-term behavioral change. Over time, inconsistency can quietly affect confidence, self-trust, emotional stability, and personal functioning. You have to trust the process and stay the course. Sometimes when you're working on something, it doesn't materialize, it doesn't come together right away. You have to stay the course. You have to keep showing up. God said, show up, do your best, and watch me do the rest. And that's for me. And if you're a believer, you can take that for yourself to show up. Continue to show up for yourself and always do your best and watch God do the rest. Many people also normalize self-neglect. They continue functioning while ignoring emotional exhaustion, mental fatigue, stress, burnout, lack of rest, emotional overload, and personal needs. Always putting others before your own personal needs. And you're in that space, and that's fine to do things for other people. I'm not at all saying that we shouldn't be there for others and doing things for other people. But you don't want to do it at the cost of your not getting rest, that you are stressed out, that you are on emotional overload, you are exhausted. And society often rewards productivity externally, even when people are emotionally overwhelmed internally. And if you don't put a stop to it, takers will always continue to take from you, whatever that may be. And you find yourself internally emotionally overwhelmed. And as a result, some individuals become disconnected from their own emotional and psychological needs while continuing to perform outwardly. And so, what I'm saying is that you need to take the time for yourself, for your own personal needs, making sure that you're taking time for yourself. It's okay to put you first, it's okay to take care of you. And this is important because functioning is not simply about surviving responsibilities. Healthy functioning includes emotional regulation, boundaries are important, consistency, self awareness, communication, decision making, rest is very important. Emotional honesty, being honest with yourself, and the ability to respond intentionally rather than functioning consistently in reaction mode. And one thing I want people to think about tonight is how powerful repeated exposure can become psychologically. The more a person repeatedly experiences certain environments, behaviors, communication patterns, emotional responses, or stressors, the more likely they are to adapt psychologically to those conditions. And this does not necessarily mean the conditions are healthy. It simply means the mind and behavior are adapting to repeated exposure. And so I'm going to take a pause there just so you can digest and take all of this in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'm sorry, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Excuse me. I thank you all so much for tuning in, not on Instagram. But if you are watching from Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you tuning in. And another thing I want to share with you, and this is why self-awareness is so important. Sometimes people do not recognize disruption because the behavior has become routine. They may not realize how much chronic stress is affecting their emotional regulation. They may not recognize how poor boundaries are affecting their mental exhaustion. They may not realize how emotional suppression is affecting communication, relationships, leaderships, or overall functioning. And so I want to take another pause just to say hello. Hello. Thank you so much, Brenda, for joining. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much, Deacon, for joining and commenting. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for you all sharing on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'm sorry, and YouTube. Had YouTube right in my mind and said Instagram. Instagram. Thank you, Deacon, for tuning in. Thank you so much. Good evening to you, Elder Justine. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you to all of you all for tuning in. Another important part of this conversation is understanding that people can become highly functional externally while struggling internally. Someone can continue working, performing, caregiving, producing, showing up, and handling responsibilities while emotionally operating from depletion, stress, overwhelm, or internal imbalance. External performance does not always mean internal well-being. Just because you are doing things well on the outside, it does not mean on the inside that you're doing well. And you have to take the time to take care of the inside, your internal well-being. That is important because it will eventually cost you. And so you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself internally as well as externally. This is also why emotional awareness matters. Emotional awareness is not a weakness. It is understanding what continues affecting your behavior, your decisions, your communication, your reactions, your stress levels, and your functioning. Stress, they say, research, they meaning doctors, research is a silent killer. You don't want to continue in a space of being stressed and overwhelmed and functioning without taking care of yourself. People often dismiss emotional awareness as unnecessary until emotional exhaustion begins affecting other areas of their life. One of the behaviors people most commonly normalize is remaining in environments that continuously diminish their emotional well-being. Sometimes individuals stay connected to emotionally draining environments, unhealthy relational dynamics, poor communication, unresolved tension, or chronic stress because they have gradually adapted to functioning within those conditions. And over time, emotional disruption becomes psychologically tolerated instead of questioned. And you see so many people still doing the same things, expecting something different to happen. And it's not. You have to change your environment. You have to change sometimes the people you are around. If people are draining you, they're constantly taking and not giving. That is not going to work. Another behavior people normalize is over-explaining themselves. Some people continuously feel the need to justify boundaries, repeatedly explaining decisions, emotionally over-accommodate others, or seek permission to prioritize their own well-being. You do not need permission from anyone to take care of yourself and put yourself first. You don't have to over-explain. You don't have to talk about why you're doing what you're doing and what is best for you and decisions you're making for yourself that are best for you. You don't have to do that. Some of the comments here. And Deacon Fox said, this is why it's important to reset with physical rest, emotional rest, and spiritual rest. Absolutely. And so you don't want to be in a space of feeling like you have to over-explain yourself, because over time, this can quietly weaken confidence, emotional clarity, and self-leadership. People also normalize emotional suppression. They may continuously push through stress, frustration, disappointment, sadness, anger, or exhaustion without fully processing what they are carrying emotionally. You need to have safe space to have conversations. You need to have people around you with your best interest at heart, that they really care about what's happening, what's going on with you. Eventually, emotional suppression can begin affecting communication, emotional regulation, relationships, stress responses, and physical well-being. Y'all, this is really, really serious. And over time, these things do affect your life. They do bring different, in some cases, people illnesses. You stay frustrated. You stay in a space of just not peaceful. You're exhausted. from helping and doing and being there for people who won't even do the necessary things for themselves. One of the most important questions people can begin asking themselves is not simply, what behaviors am I doing? But what behaviors have I normalized that may quietly be disrupting my functioning? That question fosters deeper self-awareness. We have to be self-aware you have to be with yourself. Sometimes disruption happens loudly, but often it happens quietly. It happens gradually through repeated stress, unresolved emotional tension, poor boundaries, avoidance, inconsistency, overextension, emotional suppression, and prolonged imbalance, because the disruption develops over time. And people often do not recognize the impact until emotional exhaustion, burnout, frustration, or internal conflict becomes overwhelming. And so you don't want to continue to have yourself in a space where you're at that place of burnout and emotional exhaustion, frustrated before you decide to make a decision for yourself that's best for you. This conversation is not about perfection or self-condemnation. Human behavior is layered and complex. The purpose is awareness. I want you to be aware, self-aware of yourself, and be okay with making decisions that are best for you. The more people understand the patterns that affect their emotional well-being, communication, boundaries, leadership, and overall functioning, the more intentional they can be in creating healthier outcomes, personally and professionally. You want to create healthier outcomes, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life. As an industrial organizational psychologist, I focus on human behavior, emotional patterns, repeated cycles, decision-making, self-leadership, and personal and professional functioning. Human behavior influences relationships, communication, workplace dynamics, stress management, emotional regulation, consistency, confidence, and overall well-being. This is extremely important that you continue to get this, that you continue to take care of yourself, that you continue to recognize what's going on externally and internally in your life. Understanding behavior helps people become more intentional about how they function in every area of life. And tonight, I want to leave you with this thought. Sometimes the behaviors that affect functioning the most are not always dramatic or obvious. Sometimes they are the quiet behaviors people repeatedly tolerate, excuse, minimize, or normalize. Awareness creates the opportunity for intentional change, healthier boundaries, emotional honesty, and greater alignment between behavior and well-being. And you want to be aligned in your life. You want to foster good relationships with others. You want to be in healthy relationships. You want to be in relationships that create a space for reciprocity, where you're not always the only one giving and doing. And when you're in a space of high functioning, you always used to doing things, always the one that they call on, and you're wearing a badge of honor thinking that that's great. And it's really not great. It is costing you your peace, your time, your emotions. And emotional exhaustion is something real. It'll affect your communication skills, your interpersonal skills, how you show up with others. Are you frustrated? Are you irritated? You have to take the time. If you don't hear anything else tonight, I want you to make sure that you begin the process of putting yourself first and being okay with putting yourself first. And putting yourself first is not selfish, because there are times where you do things for yourself, you do things with others, you do family time. It's just a balance that you're trying to create for yourself. But you don't want to be in a space of always over functioning, over giving, over explaining, overextending. And so thank you for joining me for episode 17, the behaviors people normalize that quietly disrupt their functioning. I appreciate everyone who continues to engage in these conversations about human behavior, emotional patterns, self-awareness, self-leadership, and intentional functioning. As I close out tonight's episode, I also want to share that I will be on summer break from June 2nd through September 1st. Again, summer break from June 2nd through September 1st. The show will resume on Tuesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I appreciate your continued support, engagement, and participation in these conversations. And I look forward to reconnecting with you in September for another season 5, the episode of thoughtful discussions surrounding human behavior, patterns, repeated cycles, decision-making, and personal and professional functioning. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon. Have a great night. God bless you. I love you, and I am so grateful for you who tune in weekly to watch the Jafora Fox Show. And so stay tuned. I will enjoy my summer break. Thank you so much, Elder Justine. I'm excited about that. And I will encourage you to do something for yourself too as well, to whatever that looks like for you. And so I look forward to seeing you in September. God bless. I love you. God loves you too.
Jafora Fox, let's talk business. And let's turn it up a notch. It's your time to shine with Jafora Fox. It's all coming together. Just keep your eyes on God and tune in. And let's talk with Jafora Fox.